So welcome to everybody. So I would like to start with a quote. So without data, you are just a person with another opinion. Maybe some of you working on the data space know this already. It's Edward Deming. So he was quite a big influencer for the whole Japanese industry and the American industry. Won 1987 also from Ronald Reagan, the Medal of Technology from the United States. And this got a bit of mantra for us in Swarovski. So we started our people analytics function like about 3 years ago. And like the majority of the HR function, it was not really data driven in the past. And we really wanted to make the HR function really data driven. So today the presentation will be done from myself. I'm Oliver Kasper, 18 years in the HR space, more or less in the majority of the time. Consulting and a lot of permanent positions also. Since 3 years I'm heading this department called Digital HR and People Analytics. Mainly focused really on people analytics, as mentioned in the beginning, really got the passion. I was never so passionate about something in my professional life than with people analytics, which is quite exciting because you spend most of your time at work, right? So what about you, Roberto?
Thank you, Oliver. I graduated in engineering with a specialization in production planning, but then I developed my career all in HR. I have more than 15 years of experience. I started in consulting and then moving on the other side of the fence, working in manufacturing, insurance and fashion industry. And I'm very, very passionate about data. And back to you, Oliver.
Our vision is that all people decisions at Swarovski are informed by data and analytics, right? So, and we have seen at the beginning you should start with the vision. So when we started 3 years ago, really the first thing which we did together with the CHO at that time, we have a new one now. Luckily also quite happy about people analytics. We really started with our vision. So, but before we jump into the sales side, I would give you a very quick overview of Swarovski. So hopefully you know the company. And you are buying our stuff over Christmas or for Mother's Day and so on, which is good for us overall, right? So we have like 3 billion revenue overall, and we have like 3,000 shops, and 1,500 of our shops are run by our own and also part of our analytics, and 1,500 of our shops are run by partners, by independent retailers. So we have around 27,000 people, so 10,000 people work in retail, so that's the focus of the discussion today. And we have around 15,000 people working in production, 10,000 people are working in jewelry production, so mainly in Asia, and 5,000 people are working in the crystal manufacturing, which is only done in Austria. 3,000 people like office population. I think what is really special about Swarovski, we are a family-owned business and we are also a family-run business. So when we have lunch talk with our executive boards, in front of us there are 4 cousins. So 4 cousins are leading our company, which is quite special. You know, sometimes conflicts in the family are a bit more difficult than other conflicts, but we don't have one CEO. And to get to the level of these 4 CEOs, as I say, which we are having, you need to have the right blood in the veins, right? So succession management gets a bit narrow at that time. So that's special. The market overall, it's premium jewelry and it's growing around 6% per year approximately. So also we deliberately designed our people analytics initiatives based on business issues which we are having. And we were really strict. And we separated our 3 business functions in HR based really on the people challenges we are having in this area. So one of the first building blocks we are having is retail. So this is the focus of the presentation where we will dive in later on. These are around 10,000 own people which we are having there. And just giving one quote, so the head of retail, who is the boss of these 10,000 people, he said just in recent meetings with Roberto and myself, people analytics will get his passion for the next years. So that's quite good if a business leader has this as a passion. So we are quite happy. But we are also going in production just to highlight there. So we have jewelry production. This is where we don't manufacture crystals, but where we manufacture our jewelry. We manufacture around 20 million jewelry pieces per year. In August, we had a record year, about 2 million pieces in 1 month, because that's the production for Christmas. And the business issues which we are solving there is like we have in our Asian plants a bit of turnover issue. That's what we are focusing on. We are focusing also on absenteeism and overtime. We did for some plants, for example, studies which showed what is the impact of overtime on production efficiency. To get really a sweet spot, how much overtime do you need to have in your production facilities to also have the highest production efficiency overall. And overall, it's production efficiency and production quality where we are focusing on with our people analytics initiatives, because these are the top business issues in this area. Good. Then on our crystal production side, so we produce all crystals in Austria, like 5,000 people. And there we are also focusing on quality of our products and production efficiency, because it's a production plant. But what is really, really special there is because we have in Europe often an aging workforce, and we are focusing also from a people analytics point of view also on the aging workforce, right? There from a crystal production point of view. And then last but not least, because we are sitting as a competence center in corporate HR, so we focus also on some human resources topics. And from an HR point of view, we are focusing on especially the impact of leaders and the impact on culture on the overall company performance. So these are the themes which we're having from an HR point of view. But as you see here, the clear focus at the moment where we see our highest impact is really on retail. So what are we doing now in retail, right? So, and you see there, conversion rate is our topic. And I will explain quickly what is conversion rate. So you have there a chart. You see there is traffic and sales. And you have here lots of, all of these dots are stores, right? Imagine we're in the UK. We have a couple of hundred stores in the UK. And you see actually that some of the stores here, these stores have all the same traffic, but they have completely different sales, right? And then we ask ourselves, so really what is the reason behind? And the reason behind is conversion rate. So how many people are walking into the stores and how many people are having jewelry from us when they're walking out of the store? So this is called conversion rate. And only if we increase a fractional percentage, 0.1, 0.5, we increase the conversion rate globally, this has double-digit million impact on our revenue. Even if you have 1% increase, this is triple million impact on our revenue. And we are a 2.3 billion revenue company in this area, and we have potential for a high triple million revenue increase by this initiative. So you see, only by these numbers, you get attention also from our management. So the 5 areas which we are looking at, and we will deep dive in all of these areas, one of the drivers for conversion rate is really retention. So how many people are leaving at the end, right? One is staffing, right? How many people are in our shops, and also at what time are they in our shops? Also, the impact of a store manager. So Roberto will have some very interesting insights, right? The store manager is a key person on the conversion rate overall. Then also a sales consultant. So which people do you bring in? What kind of key capabilities and skills they need to have? And last but not least, training. Roberto mentioned the beauty actually is that we have lots of data, especially on the retail side. For example, only in training for these 10,000 people which we are having, we execute 200,000 training activities per year for these 10,000 people. So we need to train them, for example, for Christmas, for Mother's Day, on watches, how they sell, and so on. And with all of these different initiatives here, we are trying to improve the conversion rate. And how this picture was coming together was we discussed this with the management team of ours, with our head of sales globally, and also with all the sales heads globally. So we had a half-day workshop with the executive team in retail and discussed these initiatives, and they agreed that people are the key driver for improving conversion rate. So it's not the product, it is not, for example, the location of the store necessarily, but it's really the people are the most important factor to improve conversion rate, to get the revenue up 5 or 10%. And that's where we are focusing on with our People Analytics initiative. And now Roberto will guide you through these 5 dimensions, what we are doing there.
Thank you, Oliver. Before I start, just an heads up. We are not at the same stage on all of these 5 dimensions. On some dimension, we are more advanced. We have done our analytics, we have our insights, we are executing the action. On some other, we are still in a hypothesis phase where we are still discussing how to move forward, how to improve these 5 dimensions to get a better conversion rate and then to have better sales. So let's get started with the first dimension, is retention. This was our first study. Very often, people analytics teams start with employee turnover as a topic because it's relevant in many business, and it's specifically relevant in retail, where employee turnover is generally very high and higher than in other industry. And the first finding is that we focus on time to productivity, because when there is turnover, there is a new employee that comes into the shop, and we ask, okay, but how long does it take a new employee to perform like the average of the other sales consultant in the shop? So we have analyzed all the sales information, and we came to the conclusion that for an employee, it takes between 3 to 4 months to get to full productivity. And then we also saw that there were some shops where this time was just 1 month, and some other shops where this time was more than 6 months. And this was basically, we understood that there are shops where are more efficient, they have more standard procedures. So where the store is more organized, a new joiner takes less time to actually get to full productivity. So this was a very interesting insight, because we could then monetize the time to full productivity, because it means that there are some lost opportunity of sales during these first 3 to 4 months that translate in hidden cost for the company. So it was very interesting for our colleagues in retail to understand that turnover is not only a cost of replacing an employee, but actually is a cost in terms of loss of sales for our business. And this was quite interesting for them to understand this. Second findings is that reasonable, stable team. We are in retail, so we are not aiming for a 0% turnover, but for a turnover that's more healthy than the one that we have at the moment, are performing better in terms of productivity. They have higher, all the KPIs that were mentioned, so conversion rate, cross-selling KPIs, upselling KPIs, they are constantly better than teams where there is high turnover. So this was also interesting. Also, we were able to measure from a financial point of view what is the impact of having high retention. In one country, we have made some recommendation to increase retention, and we see already in these first 3 months of 2019, very good result. It's just 3 months, I haven't seen yet the April result, but basically in this market, we have reduced the turnover by 20%. That is quite significant, and we see that the conversion rate has increased by 2%. So very impactful. And for this reason, now in the course of the year, we will focus on other markets that are our priority markets to move this initiative of retention forward for our business. So first element, retention, and it generally is a recommendation for any new team working in people analytics. Start with retention, because there are many models that can be used. It's something that you can find a lot of research on. So it's a very good starting point for your team if you are just get started with the topic. The second dimension is staffing. Here we are still in a hypothesis phase, even though we see from the data already some interesting insights. And the first is that basically, if you organize your staffing and scheduling accordingly to the traffic that you expect in the shop, then the productivity and the customer experience get much better. So it's key that our staffing is done in a standard way in all our countries, and in a way that is based on really the demand, the traffic that is in our shop. So we need to be really analytically in the way we staff and schedule the shop. Because what we saw in the data for one specific country is that those shops that have similar traffic but are better staffed, they are performing conversion rate 1-2% better. So very, very critical. And what we realized also that having a tool to organize the staffing and the scheduling is not enough. It's a need, so you need to have a tool to collect all of this data, but it's not enough. You need to have predictive analytics working on this data to define for each shop what is the right level of staffing to maximize your conversion rate. But also to not have too many resources that actually do not translate in conversion rate. If you imagine a chart where you have your staff on the x-axis and your sales on the y-axis, the curve is similar to the one we saw. So it's very linear at the beginning. The more staff, the more you sell. Of course, if you don't have staff, you don't sell anything. If you have one person in the shop, you sell something and then it increases. But at a certain point, it does not increase anymore. So we need to find shop by shop, based on the traffic, what is the sweet point that maximizes the sales, but at the same time, we do not incur in labor costs that are not producing any marginal increase in sales. So staffing will be one of our key focus for the second part of the year. The third element is store manager. We start with the fact store manager is key. This comes from both from experience from our retail colleagues, but also we saw this in the data. There are store managers that are really able to maximize and engage the team and maximize our business. And we see this when we move a store manager from one shop to another. We see that the receiving shops increase the sales, and the shops where the manager was before maybe is performing at the same level or even less. So store manager is definitely a key to drive business performance. And on this initiative, we would like actually to understand what are the characteristics, the leadership characteristics of those managers. I just want to mention two characteristics that we believe are important for our store manager. First is the ability to communicate in a clear and transparent way the target for the shop and for the sales consultant. This is a leadership characteristic that actually drive more sales, better performance. A second characteristic of those high-performing managers is that they have regular feedback sessions with the sales consultant. They are good at coaching the staff. And how we will approach this topic. Basically, we will have a survey for our sales consultant. They can actually give feedback to their manager. Through this survey, we will identify gaps in these leadership skills that will be identified. And then together with our development and learning team, we will actually actionize some development action. So to fill this gap. And then again, we will ask again to our sales consultant. So this will be a cycle because we want to build a best-in-class store manager for our business. So also this part will come and will become real by September this year, where we will start with some countries to actually run this cycle. And we very look forward to have this initiative kicked off as soon as possible. Then we don't have to forget our sales consultant. Those are really the person that are our face to the customer. So it's very, very important. And we are partnering with an external company that use neuroscience to identify the traits that are beneficial for our business. Basically, how does it work? We have selected our top sales consultant. Our top sales consultant went through a series of games. And out of these games, they got back an assessment that is not accessible by us. As a company, we get a flag that describes if the sales consultant is not recommended, or highly recommended. And all our applicants go through these games. So they apply to our career site, then they are shifted to this external website where they play the game. They get the feedback that we cannot assess, but we can assess this flag. not recommended, recommended, and highly recommended. And as people analytics team, we will measure the performance of those colleagues that have been hired through this new platform. And we will compare their performance against hirings from other channels, but we also take in consideration the retention KPIs for those persons. So we saw that from this initial study, initial assessment, that there are some personality traits that actually drive better business performance. So we will follow together with this partner this process and understand the impact that we have. And in case we will, now we are in a pilot phase, we will implement this in many other countries as well. And in the process, doesn't take in consideration gender, doesn't take in consideration age, education. This is not part of the assessment. So we also believe that through this process we can get better in not having any hiring bias during hiring. That is also important for us. The last dimension that Oliver mentioned already is we are delivering 200,000 trainings per year to our sales consultant. And how we measure currently the success of our training? We measure it as a completion percentage. So there are countries that are more compliant, that have 95% completion, other countries that are less compliant at 60%. But does it really mean anything? It's just, in my opinion, an hygienic factor. You need to have good level of completion, but it doesn't really measure the impact that you are doing to the business. So what we are going to do is to actually try to design together with the learning team and measure what are the trainings that have more impact on conversion rate, upselling, cross-selling. So this is very important, that the training delivery is designed not on contents, but it's designed on impact, so on a performance. So it's a very different approach on how our academy actually is currently managing the training offering. And I forgot to mention that we have already analyzed the training data, and what we see clearly in the data is that training has a positive effect on retention. Those employees that get more training, are engaged in training more regularly, are also those employees that are less turnover. So this is also interesting that this investment translates in less employee turnover. So as I mentioned, we would like to design the catalog, the training catalog based on performance, not based on contents only. And so these are the five dimensions we are working on. As I mentioned, we are in different stage for each of these dimensions, but the business, Oliver, you can confirm, is very excited about all of these 5 dimensions.
So let me conclude. So lessons learned, right? Why did it work out from our point of view? Identify the most important business topic. We hear it all day, but for us, really the business issue in retail is conversion rate. And you see, I mean, you go down conversion rate route, these are like 5 big people analytics projects we are starting, but only by identifying the conversion rate as a key issue, we really got attention from top management. So this leads also that we can grow our team. Yeah, even they want to fund us, right? You need to, what do you want to solve, right? And not from an HR point of view, but really from a business point of view. And that's the same in production. It's production quality and production efficiency. So try to find this out. Start with a business problem. Then define together the hypothesis. So the 5 dimensions which you have seen there, created by the way from Roberto, right? So they are really defining what is influencing conversion rate? Build this dimension around, but together with your business team. So we define this together with the head of retail global, and each retail head from our key markets globally is a team of 25 top executives in our company. And then you need to do the analysis and move forward, obviously, right? But the buy-in at the beginning, in that you get access to the resources, and especially at the end, get also the commitment that they implement the results. Because what you as an analytics team, what you find out and it's not implemented, even if it's unpleasant, it's not worth the work, right? But it starts right from the beginning. So what are the results? And we have you asked this, Roberto, is really, you get top management attention. So we started our journey, like Roberto is now 2 years in the company. He was the first in the people analytics team. Now we are 3. So you get really attention from top management. This causes also pressure, but you get also results at the same time. But start really, so there's also sometimes you need to first start with reporting, then advanced reporting, then prescriptive and analytics. We said, okay, we start really where we as a team can have the highest impact. Not where they don't do reporting, but we really started with predictive analytics on the top company problem. So you have regular interactions. So we have monthly interactions with the global head of retail. We are invited regularly to the executive board to discuss our people analytics topics. The same starts now also for production. So we have capacity issues now, because you see the things which we have there with 3 people and with a pool of data scientists where we can source, we get a bit to the limit, but potentially we can extend further, right? This happens. And you have very high business impact. So what is more exciting at work, that what you do on a daily basis has business impact at the end. And you see really the numbers, the things which you are doing improve your numbers, the conversion rate, top or bottom line. That's super exciting. So, and as I mentioned in this introduction, HR is somehow also on the executive table. And we are really getting invited to this kind of meetings and not pushing ourselves in there, which is super exciting overall. So, thank you very much for your attention. And I think we are open for questions, right?
Definitely.
You mentioned right there at the end the challenge of managing the business question, the top thing that folks care about, versus reporting in the organization, particularly as when you're a small team scaling up. Can you just speak for one moment about how you have managed that tension? Okay. And then we'll go to whoever has the mic.
Okay. So we, at the beginning, we made the decision to focus with the team first on predictive analytics because we thought we have the highest business impact. So at the same time, at the moment, we are for more operational and tactical reporting, we are building up a team on our shared service center environment, which we are giving more input from a strategy point of view, but operationally managing, we are purely focusing on strategic topic and predictive analytics. The main reason is, if you share both at the same team, operations always wins, right? Because there are always questions coming up that you need new reports or you need a new row or whatever. So we completely really separated this because also you need completely different skills in the team. If you have a really great person in your team as a people analytics manager, like Roberto, for example, and you would give him then purely reporting activities, at one time this would bore the person and the person would leave, right? Also about interesting stuff and leveraging the skills. So crystal clear, you need to separate this.
Hi, my name is Iman Khalifa, and I work for Coca-Cola European Partners as their head of workforce intelligence. Very intrigued by your presentation and the work you've done. It's fabulous. My question is, how did you identify that the conversion rate was the most important business issue related to people? Was it based on an intuition, business discussion, or was it proven by the data to be the most important issue?
So I think maybe I start. Maybe the first issue was that we are, as a company, conversion rate, we are below the industry average. And so 1% increase is a triple million increase of revenue, right? In a bit more than 2 billion topic. And this, you need to talk to people. You need to understand your business, right? That's how it worked out, right? Roberto, anything to add?
Basically, we started developing an executive scorecard where there were a series of KPI related to people. And this was like the hook to get a conversation with the different part of the business. And then when you start the conversation, you start to move from people topics to business topics. And then we had a series of discussion, and then it was clear for us and then for the business that conversion rate was really the lever that we can use to increase our business. So as team, we were lucky to develop this scorecard that was very much appreciated, and this was actually the starting point to having discussion with the business about the business and not about only HR KPIs.
Hi, thanks. My question is a bit of a follow-on from that one. So how did you identify that those 5 things were the most important things in terms of having an impact on your business goal of sales conversions? And how did you rule out things like incentive schemes and commission and absence and engagement? Or is that something that is sort of embedded in that model as well?
So,
Yeah, it was. Everything started with the conversation with the business, with the head of retail, and then with the managing directors. We had extensive workshop and conversation, and then we supported this conversation with the data because at the same time we had also access to this information. So we started to quantify the cost of turnover. So it was clear that this was very relevant for the company, not only as a cost of replacement, but also as a loss of opportunity. Then we also use some research paper, some books. It's very important not to get isolated, but really to search on academy research because there are so much. These are topics that have been studied since the beginning of the century, so we are not reinventing the wheel. So conversation, talk with also other companies, and academy research paper, and so forth. And data. In all our conversation, we supported the relevance of this topic with data. Why store manager is important? Because you see those high-performing store managers are performing 20% better than an average store manager. So it was a mix of things.
And we don't exclude topics. For example, in our first retention study in the market, we found out actually that compensation, at least the STI, the bonus which we are paying, is a key driver for retention. But these are the themes which we agreed on, right? But we use all data sets. We use all HR data. We use all business data. We will start using qualitative data. And if you bring up a 6th topic or a 7th, then we have a 6th or 7th topic. But these are just the themes where we agreed with business around, right, to focus on these ones.
Hi. I had a question regarding the neuroscience games. What did the process look like when selecting model employees to use as the benchmark?
So basically, first step was to identify who are our top sales consultant. And that was already quite challenging because every store is different from another store. The customers are different. So we had to really define an algorithm really to ranking our sales consultant. This was the first challenge. But then we get to a list of 50 sales consultants in a company that, in a country that are really performing better than the average. Then we double check this list that came from our database with the managing director in the country and the store manager to actually make sure that these were actually really good sales consultants. And then they went through these games. So they made the games, and out of these games, Biometrics defined a list of personal traits that really differentiate those 50 person from an average person. And this is our target level for our candidates. So our candidates, they apply on our career site, and in the process, they are asked to play these games, and we get very high acceptance of the games. So the candidates say, the feedback is that they like to play these games because they get in return a profile where they can understand how they rank among different dimensions. And again, we do not have access to this information. We get as a return a flag that shows if the candidate is recommended or highly recommended or not recommended. And now we believe in this solution, but now we need to prove it because we are very analytical. So what we will do in the course of the year, we will really compare the performance of this person that's been hired through this channel with employees hired from different channels. So we want really to see that they are performing really better. If this would be the case, then we will roll out the solution to more countries.
And maybe also one topic from a stakeholder management point of view, it's quite important. If we do a study, we involve always the business head of a country and the HR head, and we have a regular catch-up, like every week, 15 minutes, tell what we are doing, because we can only see data, but we don't know what's happening in the market. Is there suddenly a campaign going on, unemployment is going up, or whatever, something you need to get the business context, like really regular interaction with your key counterpart during a study is absolutely crucial.
Hi, Roberto, you said previously you used to work in manufacturing. So much of my experience before I worked in this area was working as a statistician in manufacturing. And one of the projects I'm working on now is actually looking at our data in HR related to production efficiency and quality, which you touched on at the start. I was wondering if you could share a little bit more about what sort of approaches you took to analyse that and what sort of things you found out.
Yes, we have started with in a small plant just to have a pilot, and then we will expand this to our biggest plant with 7,000 employees. So we have my experience is based on this study that is based on a plant with 600 employees, and there we had basically two questions that were. What are the drivers of employee turnover? This was the first question. But then the second question was, how can we improve the efficiency and the quality? And then we started to analyze the data, and also we read some research. I can maybe give you some the names of some books or some research that we have used. And what we have found that there is a lot of materials around how over time impacts actually efficiency and quality. And how can you optimize the use of overtime to get a win-win situation where the employees is able to work overtime because then he can get some extra money on top of his current salary, but at the same time, this overtime does not compromise efficiency and quality. So how to get to this level. And there are so many studies out there that you can actually use to actually start with your analytics. So it's very, very interesting, and the findings that we had in our first study. And they are now discussing how to implement this recommendation because it's not easy.
I have a follow-up question on the training. It makes a lot of sense when you're giving people training that they retain it, and or the retention, and that improves your metrics. What about the training you're giving to store managers? Have you shown that it's capable to actually improve their software skills than driving their behaviors?
So that's part now of the future work which we are doing. So there will be a key focus is on the store manager itself. Because as Roberto mentioned, it's like the store manager, when you move someone's store manager from one store to the next, it's improving of sales 20-30%. And we're currently in defining this. But a key for this is really qualitative data. We need to have an employee survey, a continuous listening approach, and we're currently the selection of a tool and so on as a company. So this will start, but this will be a clear focus. We strongly believe to move into this direction with the qualitative data, and even the impact of our studies will boost significantly with having qualitative data available.
So you said that you used Biometrics in order to find out what the traits of a successful salesperson was, right? And I was just curious, what were those traits?
Yes, I can mention maybe a couple. One is attention focus. So our top sales consultant have these traits that they are able to focus on a specific task. But at the same time, they can refocus really quickly. So through these games, one key traits was really the ability to have high attention and at the same time to switch the focus really quickly. Because and this makes sense, because if you imagine a sales consultant that is serving a customer with some specificity, and then he needs to move maybe to a very different customer with other requirements, and then he needs to have the full attention on the customer, but also being able to shift really quickly the focus from one to the other. So this was one of the key traits that we saw in our top sales consultant. And then there is a long list. It's quite complex, but also very interesting.
But also when you deal with these companies, it's also important to challenge them also, because everybody nowadays, it's powered by artificial intelligence, behavior, so every company sells this, right? But you need also to dig deeper and understand what models are they using, what data are they referring to, and you need to have specialists in the team to be able to even challenge, because when you don't have a background like this, they can sell you whatever you want, right? So it's important also to start really seriously challenging them, and we had discussions also with Biometrics, with the data scientists, also to understand their model, and we had also there some serious questions. It's a good company, we really like working with them, and we really believe they bring science and the business world together, what they are doing. But you need to challenge them also and ask questions from somebody who understands more from a data science, pure behavior science point of view what they are doing, right?
And we are now proving the value, no? This is important for us. Actually, it's the most important thing.
All right. Well, we're at time already, so thank you, Oliver, Roberto. I think wonderful session, really engaged audience. So everybody, please join me in thanking them.
Thank you.